at the Hans Niemann Vladislav Artemiev game, it's a slow kind of Italian. I think Artemiev is doing extremely good job of picking an opening line which is extremely solid, and he might be able to play faster, because you don't want to do the same thing against Hans Niemann in such a critical moment in today's first game, that you start to think 10 minutes in the opening. That was yesterday, it worked to perfection, great. You shouldn't be repeating the gambit that worked for you already before, because people will be ready psychologically.
And I gotta say, Hans, well, this angle, he looks, I'm not sure, he has some of the more cryptic faces whenever I see him. Generally speaking, I think he has the look sort of not so hidden disgust. Like he's thinking, yeah, I'm here to beat on people, and I'm not going to respect you that much. Right now, he looks like he didn't get enough sleep, maybe a little bit tired. I'm not really sure. I'm not going to guess at it. But what I do love about Hans is his fighting spirit. He's not somebody who comes to the board looking for a draw pretty much ever. Like, every game fighting white or black, and you can be sure he's thinking, this win right here would be amazing. Let me go all in and try to destroy this guy, because probably he's playing Magnus next round if he wins this game. I mean, odds are very high. So he has to be thinking, I'm just going to have to go basically all in. Like, this is almost...
Just so we can see how many pieces disappeared. This was the position not 4 or 5 moves ago. And have a look, bishop e6. We see the move d4 and d5, a strong reaction, guaranteeing mass exchanges in the middle. The blue arrow, an important only move found by Artemiev, and the last move, bishop to f4. So we really have a situation where white's trying to guard the e-pawn, which is extended, and say, well, I'll be able to capture the pawn on e4. And, you know, the crazy thing about this position is black, to some degree, James, has to allow that. And that's actually not necessarily a problem either.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to defend this. You do have this weird... I was trying to calculate and make work. F5 takes, then there's queen b3, and then both are hit, and the rook takes e4. So yeah, I was trying to get f5 to work, but it doesn't really work at all. So it's very annoying to allow that. And one thing I have noticed about Hans' game is actually his Italian game. One opening that he scores very well in, statistically, and just some of his best games. Like, he had a game in the U.S. Championship against Linier Dominguez, where it was an absolute, wipe out on the king side, where it was an aggressive king side attack, and g4, g5, h4 stuff kind of happened. His Italian game is really strong. He understands the positions very well. I feel he's very comfortable there. In Italian game, so great choice.
He's not trying to go all out, right? These are the co-leaders of the event. A draw is a perfectly acceptable result, and we know that Artemiev is also a player that really likes to use the time on his clock, all of it, in fact. But we haven't seen that here. Lots of time for both of these players, and it does seem like the most equal position on those top boards. But just to give an idea here, it's a completely hanging pawn. The move f5 that James is trying to make work is not really desirable. It leaves that rook, subject to potentially queen b3, as you pointed out. So, for example, if black decides to do something about this pawn, maybe, if you can't really defend it, what are you going to do? Yeah, if you trade, play f5, for example, white's going to take, and there's all sorts of weaknesses, plus rook d7 in the position. So, if we take f5,
fun part, because we don't have to play this out. This is a very stressful situation in a way for both, but at the same time, I think Hans probably has that slight edge, obviously due to the clock. He has a big clock edge, but it is a race.
Yeah, it's really key here, because what's probably going to happen is if we see king g7 or king f7, white is looking to maybe check and then eventually try to get behind this pawn. So it's very possible that we just see a repetition here. In fact, it's highly likely. If we do not, then it starts to get into very difficult calculations. So I think we're in the moment right now where if it's going to be a draw, it will be a draw immediately due to these checks. White is trying to get the rook behind the pawn, and even if the rook has to sacrifice for one pawn, these two are going to win the game.
Here we go. All right, chat. Can we get some predictions here? Win for either side or a draw? Win for either side or a draw? What are you going for?
Maxime and Gukesh have drawn their game, and
Nice.
we're also looking at a huge advantage for R10 Aragaisi against Sam Sevian. I think just a completely winning advantage. That one could turn into a result very quickly.
I do like his opening choice too as well. I know I always say Arjun he plays the bishop openings, which is like, he plays it. He's a fellow Jobabian as well. He likes to play Jobaba London, and then he also plays the Strampowskis, which is always with the bishop f4, bishop e5, either or. It looks like, is that a rep? I saw the face. He's like calculating. Let me look around. What happened in Magnus' game?
Yeah, we're at that point in the tournament where you have to start thinking about your competitor's results and how that affects what you need to do. But I think at this point, both players are probably going to acquiesce. Draw here. Handshake.
Everybody
and that
breathe.
is a draw between our tournament leaders, who are now going to be joined by more players at that 8 point.
Very strong from both of them, and they're talking about analysis here quite briefly of the game. Incredible game there. Incredible find in the middle game where Artemiev spent a lot of time figuring out